Hello, everyone. Welcome to the monthly Marketing with a Book Q&A. So this is when we get the community together and ask questions. And we have a special guest today, Corey Morris, our author, who has a new book. And we're going to give the platform to Corey here to talk about being a success at digital marketing. Corey, welcome. How are you today?
Good. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to share and just have a good conversation with everybody as well.
That's great. So I'll just do the ground rules. Corey's going to talk for around 10 minutes, talk about the book, and then it's an open forum. You can ask Corey, Henry, or Devin any question you want. So Corey is the digital marketing expert, though Devin has some chops there too. And I'm the expert in writing and producing a book. Devin is the expert on publishing a book and promoting a book through Amazon, through the other channels. She was a website rock star back in e-commerce, some of the biggest e-commerce companies, when we wooed her over to Indie Books 10 years ago. So she can contribute to that conversation too. Without further ado, Corey Morris.
Thank you. Appreciate the chance to talk about the book. Let me grab a copy. No one. I will not grab a copy. They're over there in a box. I handed out to a colleague this morning. If you haven't seen it or heard about it, it launched and published in mid-July. So it is still fresh out there, and it is called the Digital Marketing Success Plan. I've spent the process of, I guess, going back to last August of working on cornerstone content and sharing and finding the right vision for what I wanted to put out into the world, and sharing what we do here at Voltage, my agency, but also not make it any type of, overt sales tool or anything like that. So ultimately what we did was we took our 5-step digital marketing strategy and planning process and put it into digestible format and gave it away through the book. So for $10 for the Kindle or $20 for the paperback, we're giving our entire framework away. The reasons why and the compelling reasons for having this process out there in the world is there are a number of stories I work through in the book itself, including many stories that hit me and I went through the hard way, or my staff has, about communication, transparency in technology focused marketing channels that unfortunately lack a lot of that. My career started in search engine optimization, which naturally has always been this mysterious thing that a lot of agencies and consultants and employees either find all their information through the web, through sources that they may or may not trust, have contradicting even takes and views from Google itself in what works and what is in the algorithm and what isn't, and a whole confusing set of checklists and best practices and jargon out there. So being an agency owner and in this seat now, after being an employee for a long time, and as an SEO strategist, I learned that even with all the vetted and trusted sources, there are so many different methodologies, so many different conflicting viewpoints, whether it's on SEO or social media, or we should just do it because somebody says we should do it, all these different things. And one of the ones I've seen in the past few years is, okay, well, you want to do SEO? I do SEO. Okay, let's get started. And then we spend 6 months of money trying to do all the things, and then realize that we didn't have a plan or a mapped out strategy to align around. So digital marketing success plan is the end result, is the takeaway you get from following through on my 5-step process. That is the acronym START. So the START planning process starts with strategy, and that seems obvious, but it's sometimes not obvious. Sometimes tactics get mixed in, or things that we were already doing pollute the thinking, or we assume that everyone around the table at the business or on the marketing team or leadership team or in the C-suite has the same impression of what success looks like and what the end goal looks like. And just working through that alone in many cases helps us to not get a year into something and investing a lot of dollars or resources and time to realize that we had 5 different definitions of what our goal was, what ROI is, or what our success is. So getting aligned on the same page, understanding if we can get it down into a paragraph or maybe better, 2 or 3 sentences of what we're doing, who we do it for, what an ideal lead or conversion looks like or sale looks like, and how we're going to do it, what and how it's going to be measured are key. So those variables all don't have to necessarily be there, but if we can get it down to 1 slide or a paragraph, and we're not using 7-point font on a PowerPoint slide, but if we could get it there and understand it and be aligned with what our ultimate goal is, then that flows through the rest of the steps, and we can get to a better place. Sometimes this may be where you stall out and have to really understand if we're speaking the same language. If you get some of the traditional battles between sales and marketing, or a product team, or a C-suite, or we're talking about digital marketing in an organization that's very traditional and is going through digital transformation in the moment. So understanding what's working, where we are, and getting aligned on what the strategy is in a digestible way is important in that first step. So S for strategy, then we get into T for tactics. And this is where we want to challenge and really put everything out there that might work. Maybe we wrote off social media marketing years ago, or maybe, personally, I don't like Facebook and I don't want us to do marketing in Facebook, or we never saw it close to a conversion action, but we didn't have attribution modeling to know that maybe it opened a lot of the conversations at the top of the funnel or in the customer journey. Whatever it might be, from programmatic to email to social media to search, putting everything out there on the table, and not just being biased by what we think or know what has worked in the past for us is important. So there are a ton of different research tools and opportunities. I unpack a lot of how-to content in each of these steps in the book. And I'm adding resources to the website for it as well. But working through and making sure that we're not biased or leaving something out is important, because this is the cheap part of testing or evaluating things when we're doing the research, versus let's go try it for 6 months because Google will take your money or Facebook will take your money, whether it's working or not. When you have a chance to say time out, let's go put all the things out there and test. The A is application. All right, now we have a strategy and we have a set of tactics that we're locking in. Now we need to understand what assets we need to actually apply the strategy and tactics to our plan. And so this is where sometimes you can get way off in left field with more creative minded members of the team saying, okay, now I get to create banner ads. Now I get to go create email templates. Now I want to revisit the brand, or I want to refresh the website. This is not about doing anything, because this is where you can lose momentum if somebody wants to go spend 6 months creating new assets on the fly. But this is taking an inventory of what you need for your marketing plan and the strategy and tactics to work, and getting that planned out and understood what the resources and investment are at this stage. And then we get into R, which is review. This is where it starts to come together, because now we're taking, okay, we know what we're doing, what resources we're committing, what assets we need, what our strategy and tactics are. How are we going to measure them? Chances are most of us have GA4 or some version of Google Analytics or an equivalent web analytics package working on our site to measure things. We may have third-party dashboard software. We may have business intelligence tools and CRM and a whole stack of things, or ERP that we run our business on. And those things may be, configured into great lengths to tie everything together. But what they don't do out of the box, or even in most custom configurations, is actually allow us to see the full ROI of our effort. They don't have the ability to necessarily know what the payroll is and what the commitment is for our internal marketing team. They don't necessarily know what our overall marketing budget is, or what we're paying for software, what we're paying to outside entities like agencies or consultants as well. So I'm not saying that you put all that publicly in front of your entire marketing team down to your junior person, but at some level, you're probably going to be asked by a CMO or CFO or CEO, what is my ultimate return on investment for marketing? And we want to be able to tie that back to what we define in our strategy phase. So getting those things configured is critical, because often if you launch without those things in place, it's hard to recover that data or get data that you didn't capture on the front end. And then the last step, the final T, is transformation. This can fall apart or get out of whack quickly in terms of resources and planning and timing if you don't have a resource plan, whether that's a project management system you load everything into, or whatever resource planning, even if it's manually documented, who's going to do what when, because there's nothing worse than getting this perfect plan on paper documented and then finding out that your web developer is out for 6 months, or your copywriter is booked for 3 weeks, and you can't get things going, and then you lose momentum from this 30, 60, 90-day process that you worked through, and you can't enact it right away. So getting that lined out and making sure there are parameters on that too. So you don't have a UX designer who goes and spends, 60 grand when you had 3 grand earmarked for their time or materials as well of what they're developing within the plan too. So having that timed out, and most importantly, having intervals built in for revisiting the plan as you go and measuring it. So that's the process. At the end of that, again, I've got an outline in the book, just a sample outline of what a plan might look like, whether you the high level in a deck, whether you have it in a Google document or a Word document, wherever you might have it, with links to all kinds of appendices, somewhere that it doesn't just get put on the shelf, out of mind, and it's a plan that you can enact and measure against and come back to. Because now you have an actionable, accountable plan to put in action and see where your results go and to be able to fine tune. I got all the way to this point without saying AI, but there's so many distractions and things changing faster than they ever have in digital marketing. So the goal with having a plan is to make sure that we're not just chasing shiny objects. We're not just blindly doing checklists of best practices, and that everything is accountable to an ROI goal and subordinate to the strategy. At the same time, though, we're not going to blindly run the plan for a year and ignore all the things that are changing. So the goal of having a plan is making it something that is in front of us at all times. And as things change, as new things emerge, as our teams create new products, services, as our sales teams gain new focuses, as a CEO gives a drive-by and says, why don't we try this audience? Or as your competitors enter or exit, or as Google changes an algorithm overnight, or as AI further disrupts things, there will be changes. But being able to go back to your plan and say, how do we reallocate resources, change budgets, adjust our expectations based on that, gives us a chance to make sure that we have even if it's a 5-minute conversation and look back at the plan, we don't get to the end of the year and realize that we changed focus 7 times, or that one person wearing 3 hats just didn't do anything for 2 months. And then we have what sounds like a bunch of excuses at the end of the year when we look for a return on our digital marketing investment. And I didn't even talk about, shorter than ever tenures of people in marketing. And so if you don't have a documented plan somewhere, the plan may leave with the person whose head it was in as they walk out the door as well. And then you have to start over the entire process. So I could give you 5 more reasons why and a few stories, but ultimately, hopefully that's the compelling brief version of why you need a digital marketing success plan.
Corey, thanks so much. Yeah, Devin, thanks for going to the Hollywood Squares or the Brady Bunch format here. I'll explain that to Holly later, what that means. So I clicked some of your videos off because on our end, we're having some bandwidth issue today. So just wanted to have clear on that. I want to thank Corey because Corey is going to be one of our keynote speakers at the Agency Rainmaker Forum, the new name for the Indie Family and Friends Forum, in September. And he's flying in from London and getting there Friday night, and will go on stage on Saturday and then has to zip off somewhere else after that. So Corey, we appreciate you, and that you'll get to meet 40 to 50 members of the family, and they'll know that you're a resource. I see Jim Connolly on the line, the Harvard Business School professor emeritus, who was at our first forum. We're celebrating our 10th anniversary this year, And Jim was with us, and with Ken Blanchard, who he went to Cornell with, right? You were both at Cornell?
No, I didn't go to Cornell. But I've known Ken, knew Ken for many years.
Well, you're a good reminder. I need to check in and see how Ken's doing these days.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that, I'm going to go to any questions anybody has. And you can jump in with voice, or just turn your video on to ask your question of Corey, Henry, or Devin. Dr. Tony, good to see you. So I'm going to put a question to Devin. For you publish a book, what are the top 3 things from a digital perspective should an author do to promote their book?
So I would recommend that, one, you have some sort of website or landing page dedicated to the book. If you can get the URL that matches the book title, that's even better. Again, just, more search hits, all that kind of stuff helps just drive traffic. Second, I would say you build the opt-in email list any way you can. It's nice to offer some sort of resource. So whether it be a sample chapter of the book or a tool from the book, anything like that that you can offer as a giveaway in exchange for somebody joining your list, that really helps in both the lead up to publishing the book. So then you have a list to promote to when the book releases, but then also after, and continuing that relationship and fostering that kind of interest in the topic. And third, I think I would pick video and YouTube over social media, though they are pretty close and often hand in hand. But I think if I had to pick one over the other, probably a video strategy. So just build up video content. That's what people like to consume, short video content, I guess I'll emphasize. So kind of 1 to 2 minute tip videos that then you can use in all your different platforms would be a good way to start.
Corey, your thoughts on the musts?
Yeah, the things that I had a lot of success with were getting, after I had even just, far enough into the process with a manuscript, I was able to start reaching out to colleagues who have their own podcasts and get some momentum through that. I actually landed a decent sized client on an interview I did before I even had the final manuscript, but I had enough of the concepts of the book down that I had an excuse to have content that was valuable to their community. And getting on that podcast months in advance helped me kind of fine tune my message, understand what resonated, and the bonus of getting a client out of it. But really through that launch period, to Devin's point, I realized that I needed to scramble. One thing I didn't do quick enough was refine my own email list. But I did that quickly. That was probably the biggest stressor for me. But I was also able to get into other people's podcasts where they had, upwards of 40,000 people on their email list that they were going out to. So even though I didn't have the biggest audience personally, my own owned audience, as I kind of reformatted and rebuilt my business over the last year, I was able to use other people's lists and opportunities to get out there. And that was the biggest driver for me.
I have a column in my agency Rainmaker newsletter on LinkedIn tomorrow, and it's on the importance of building that opt-in email list and using lead magnets and what the lead magnets should be about. And I would love to say that we have totally nailed that and mastered it. And Devin and I are meeting on that all the time and trying to get that to work better. So Corey, it was actually refreshing to hear you say it's the same thing. It's like the struggle we all have. How do we start that list, build that list? My point in the newsletter is, in our world, I believe it's your number one business asset after cash. Cash is number one. Number two is that email list. Maybe three is the knowledge of how to create something that people want at a value price that's profitable to you. That's pretty good, because if you can figure that out, you can be in business anywhere and work. But in our world, though, having that list that you go to, people who welcome your emails, who don't complain about your spamming them. And Devin and I also debate all the time of what is too much on the list. When is it we're talking them too much? We have one author, very successful. I'm quoted in his books. We didn't publish him, and he has a different philosophy than we do. He has the philosophy that you bombard people on your list until they opt out. They make that decision that they're getting out of there. Okay, any questions and comments here? Frank, good to see you in the house.
Hey, Frank.
The digital
There we
marketing
go.
success plan.
Frank's got it
There
for
you
me.
go. Yeah. Yeah.
Frank will kick
We
my
should
butt
fine
next
you
week
$1, Corey,
when we talk for
having
me
your
not
book.
having it.
Oh,
Yeah.
you didn't have it, Corey?
It's over there. I thought I had one on my
Gave it
desk, but I
away.
gave it away this morning.
Yeah, I got it right by my desk. I
Back
saw,
in the day when we had business cards, and I was the COO of the agency, not the president. I was second. I was number one in Star Trek lingo. So I was the executive officer. And if I went to a networking event and I didn't have a card and somebody asked for one, I was fined $1 by the president.
Yep.
She also would fine me 25 cents if there was a typo in a letter I sent out. And she had a jar on her desk. She says, one day we're going to have a big party. And once I did a mail merge letter with 125 letters went out with a typo. So I had to give her 125 quarters to put in the jar. So anyway, Holly will explain business cards to you later. Holly's our Gen Z reporter for Agency Owner News, so she gets the brunt of all the Gen Z jokes. Devin used to get the millennial jokes, so now we're transferring them over to the next generation. Any other questions for Devin, Henry, or Corey?
Henry, it's Vicky Mizell. Frank introduced
Hi, Vicky.
us a couple weeks ago. I finally gave myself the chance to start
Vicky,
reading.
we're having some bandwidth issues. I'm not hearing your question. Maybe you could type it in, try again, or type it in chat.
Oh, I just wanted to acknowledge your new book and how it's helping me already. And it's the first time that I've ever seen something about having a conversation, a meaningful conversation, and getting people to enroll themselves rather than you enroll them. And that's making all the difference in the world for me.
Oh, Vicky, that's very nice of you to say. She's talking about our new book, Bringing in the Business Without Sounding Like a Salesperson. And the point of it is, if you don't like sales, good, because I don't want you doing sales. I want you having a series of enrollment conversations with prospects. And our first one is an attraction phase conversation where we call it a non-selling zone. We call it a book chat. So Devin has book chats with people, and I'll have book chats with people, and we'll help them get clarity around their goals and their hidden assets and their roadblocks. And then we say, if you'd like a meaningful conversation about money and how much things cost and timing, and you want it in writing, like the auto mechanic, you get it in writing first before you commit. We're happy to have that conversation. Makes a big difference in our world because so many people want to close you on your first call. And I am a graduate of the Sandler Sales President's Club, and I know how to do all that. I taught insurance agents how to sell life insurance at the kitchen table. So I know all those things, and I hate them. One of our authors is Tony Alessandra, who wrote Non-Manipulative Selling. And he also wrote The Platinum Rule. The Platinum Rule is above the Golden Rule. Golden Rule is treat people like you want to be treated. Platinum Rule is treat people like they want to be treated. So if I treated Devin like I want to be treated, I would put a lot of hot sauce on her food. That is not how Devin wants to be. She's a no spice gal. So that's the first time I made that joke. Yeah. Thanks, Frank. I'm going to take you on the road with me. Frank's the best audience. Him and Patricia Fripp, our authors, past president of the National Speakers Association. She sits up front. She reacts to everybody. Patricia's heard it all before, but she's just the best audience member you could ever want. Okay. Any other questions before I give you the rest of your day back?
Hi, Henry. It's Tony Pantolino.
Hello, Dr. Tony. Good to see you. Good to hear
hello,
you.
everyone. I haven't been able to jump in on any of these for a while, but I just wanted to thank you and Devin, and really all your authors, because I started a project 3 years ago that will launch this month, and I have learned so much from listening to everyone. Your speaker today, Corey. There's a lot that is unlearned when I'm a psychologist by profession. So yes, you can write the book, and I thought we were done, but we're not done. We're just beginning. So that's been the past year in positioning all the things that Devin spoke about. So just a really sincere thanks to both of you. It's like a master class when we're talking to you guys.
Hey, Tony, I want to give an invitation to you and Barbara, and also I think Jim had to run off. I'll talk to Jim. We've got the forum coming up. It's $1,000. If you'd like to come to the forum, I will comp you the $1,000. I'll put you on stage, and I'll give you a 2 to 4 minute video about that book of yours that you can do it. You need to meet Frank King, because Frank, just give him the 60 seconds of who you are.
Oh, you know what? Just so happens, Henry. Suicide prevention speaker and trainer, 12 times TEDx speaker. I work with speakers, authors, and coaches. I help them land and leverage a TEDx talk to build their brand, raise their fees, and book more engagements. It's a program, 90 days. You get a TEDx, book $50,000 in speaking engagements in 6 months, or your money back plus $5,000. And, well, let's see, what was the story you liked so much, Henry? What was the
message of you, or
no?
I think Tony and Barbara, they have a big idea, and it's TEDx worthy that they should be delivering that big idea. And I think just hanging out with you a bit would be great for them. And this is about the relationships also in the indie family, because when Frank knows what you do and what you talk about, because he speaks so much, he'll run into people, and my joke is the 4 magic words in the English language are, I know a guy. So you want Frank to be able to say, oh, you want that topic? I know a guy. In Chicago, we were just in Chicago, Corey and Frank and I, and it's I got a guy. I got a guy. I got a guy. Dr. Tony, he's out in New York. He talks about that. We are in such a mental health crisis in this nation right now. We need all the healing you mental health healers can provide. So I'm just planting that seed with you. And Tony, if you're interested or want to know more, we can talk offline.
I absolutely will be in touch.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
thanks,
would be
Henry.
honored to shine a spotlight on your work.
Thank you.
You're welcome. There might even be a TV show in it for you in the future, like Corey's here.
Yeah.
Don't want to overpromise, but it could happen. We could.
Well, if you do it, if
I
you do
used to
it,
say, I went to some of our female authors and I said, how do I do this non-sexist with, what's the equivalent of I know a guy? And they said, don't say I know a gal. No, they said, we're guys too. Just it works, Somebody said, why don't you say I know a person? And I thought like, oh, you need comedy class. That's not gonna get a laugh. I know a person, oh yeah, that's rich.
Yes,
Um,
I know a carbon-based life form, actually.
Now that's funny.
Star Trek.
I did tell
Woody
my
Allen's is about if somebody's, you're having collection problems or something. He goes, well, I know a person. Well, he's not exactly a person, but he will come and collect that debt for you. Oh, I'm not supposed to quote that person. I'm sorry. Devin's HR is gonna come in. I've got a short list that I'm not supposed to quote anymore. Let me tell you about a Bill Cosby story. Yeah, not going there. Okay. Any last question anywhere? Devin, did you see anything? Nope. Okay, well, we're going to give you the rest of your day back. Thank you so much, Corey, for joining. And we've done the
Thank you.
99-cent Kindle campaign already. And so that's something we recommend that for all our authors, we do a special campaign. Devin, how did Corey's book do? I know I bought the book.
He is an Amazon bestseller in a couple
The
categories.
Amazon best-selling author, Corey
Yeah.
Morris, was with us today, the Digital Marketing Success Plan. Okay, thanks everybody. Have a great month and we'll be back here. You can come anytime, ask any question, bring people. Love to have them. Okay, thanks
Thank
everybody.
you all so much.
Have a good
See you
day.
in September.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.